Hey guys, Casey Mitchell here. I want to talk about the 848 resistance training program that we posted in many of our community pages. And we'll talk specifically about why it exists, why it's a great idea to start out your resistance training program with this protocol, and how it can actually benefit and affect your long-term progressive exercises in the future. And then we'll add a few additional videos so you can actually see it in action and how it plays out. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into the presentation here. So if you're moving along in your elements and you're going through your weight loss and phase one journey, then you're probably getting to the point where you have done your walking programs and now you're getting into your eat walking program and possibly your resistance training up to 2 times a week right now. And that's specifically the one that we highlighted for this community challenge, just so people can get a good reference point of where we can start. And I'll kind of explain why and what that looks like a little bit later on in a couple of slides here. But it's important to start from a specific spot and then move into a progressive exercise program so that you can continue to grow and adapt and prepare your body for more safely and effectively. So my name's Casey Mitchell. I have been a career personal trainer and health club owner and manager of health clubs for as long as I can remember. And I have a lot of different certifications in different modalities. So the only reason I bring that up is just that I've gone through exercise programs my whole entire life. But I have been around the fitness community for a very, very long time. And I just wanted to highlight that. I'm not some rogue personal trainer who has only grown up in the CrossFit world or who has only grown up in the jazzercise world or whatever is out there, okay? Not making fun of anything in particular. So, and I am a CrossFit level 1 certified trainer. So, so many different things and reasons why I've looked into all of these different things and put them all together so that you have this complete understanding of how the body works, why it works the way it does, and how you can progress people in the correct exercise patterns that they need for their particular goals. All right, lock that boy down. Let's move on. All right, so eat resistance training, the 848 tempo. So when we do the design, specifically in, like, say, the .fit app, what you'll see is you'll come across the exercise routine that will have these tempos. I broke this down in Dr. Andersen's tempo format here so you can see what that looks like. What we will be doing is one set for 5 reps. We'll be going for an 848 tempo. And after each exercise, we'll rest 20 seconds. And then we'll move into the next exercise. Now that right there might be different for a lot of people because they're used to doing the same exercise maybe 3 or 4 times in a row before they move on to the next body part or the next exercise series. This one is designed to go through the full 5 or 6 exercises and then go back in that order again, okay? So from the very beginning when I started health coaching 10 years ago, I looked at the 848 count and I said, why? Why? Because in my opinion, okay, it's complicated. It's complicated just like having to track your macros. It's micro detail. It takes a lot of energy and a lot of focus. And let's keep in mind, Dr. Andersen, what is so brilliant about the Habits of Health system is it starts with the very basic bare minimums, and it grows in incremental steps over a long period of time, your whole entire health journey and your whole entire life. Okay, so when I saw this, I'm just like going, woo! But here's the thing. What I know about Dr. Andersen, I know he doesn't do anything by accident, and I know everything is completely purposeful. So I dove into the research, and I'm thinking, in order for Dr. Andersen to kind of break his mold of simplicity, there has to be a risk-benefit or a benefit-risk property to it, okay? There has to be a reason why we would go down that path as something that is a little bit more challenging to begin a resistance training program with, rather than just going to traditional exercises. And even if you look at the suggested exercises from the Habits of Health videos, they're done in a 2-to-1-to-2 count or a 1-to-1-to-1 count. They're done in a traditional type of repetition fashion. What we're talking specifically about in Elements 18 is an 848 count. All right, so this is most people's brain. This is a corrupt computer program, corrupt system that has so much data and so much information that it can't even figure itself out, okay? You ever get one of these? Actually, I woke up this morning and my computer said it had to shut itself down. I had so many things open because I was working on so many different projects. I was like, oh my gosh. But once again, what we've learned about habits of health and what we learned about our journey is that we want to focus on the next most important step and move in the right direction towards getting better at something. So when I think about that, I think about like breathing. Okay, because this, just like the macro counting and anything else, it's like breathing 101, how to breathe when lifting weights, right? Well, there's all kinds of opinions, there's all kinds of studies, there's all kinds of research. And when do you inhale, when do you exhale? Do you hold the air in your lungs so that you can protect the spine in a really deep type, say chest press type of thing, where you can actually have that protection around your spine because of the added pressure, because of the resistance of the air? Do you inhale, exhale? How do you get the most contraction? All this kind of stuff. And our breathing 101 is this, guys. Just breathe. Just breathe. When I'm working with a brand new client for the first time, if I get into the details of when they should breathe, they will oftentimes forget to breathe, or they will try so hard to get that rhythm down that it will not serve them very well. So that's kind of the thought process I had when I saw the 8-4-8 count, because in a lot of beginner workouts, you want to just have somebody just move. Okay. And that's why, again, I had to look back and say, why is Dr. Andersen so persistent about the 8-4-8? All right, but it's this. If we have a new operating system where we can bring in new apps, clean out the old one, get rid of the corruption, and bring in one fresh app at a time. And I think we've seen that with the way that we bring in the 5-in-1 fueling program, and we start installing new apps. We start installing our walking app, and then we start installing our Eat Walking, and then our Eat Resistance, and then our Eat Hit. We start taking a look at the little incremental changes we can make in our sleeping, but we're installing these new apps on a clean operating system, okay? So there's no doubt, even in resistance training or anything else, that if we went back to square one and if we just shut off and rebooted with a new app or a new operating system, that we literally would have the best results of long-term success. There's no doubt in my mind. The Habits of Health is all about that. Okay, so let's dive into the research of why this actually exists then. So Dr. A's goal, and this is coming from Dr. A's Habits of Health, part 2.12, page 390 in the new Habits of Health, and a little homage to the Gators and the University of Florida. So Dr. Andersen's goal was to develop a safe, effective technique that everyone could use and sustain long-term. Discovery that moving a muscle group slowly through the full range of motion improves strength, bone density, and overall function. It's the slowness that's particularly important, as it eliminates gravity and momentum, causing the muscle to work more completely. As a result, the muscle is forced to develop more fibers and grow more quickly. Holding the muscle just as it's reached at its point of maximum contraction reinforces the effect. Now, and as an added benefit, slow and controlled movement minimizes the chance of injury, making it ideal for long-term practice. Okay, there's our benefit risk. There's our risk benefit. At the expense of having to count for 8 seconds, which is extremely hard, especially if you're attention deficit, but 8 seconds up, 4-second contraction, and 8 seconds back down. It takes a discipline, okay? The most important thing, just like the breathing example, is we just want to move slow and controlled without momentum. And my video will highlight this as well, but the video will show that the importance of full range of motion and holding the muscle, but not locking out over the bone, okay? And not the lockout is extremely important to get the most effectiveness out of the exercise. Priority number one is safety as we get time under tension. And time under tension is really the thing that offers the stimulus for the muscle to want to develop and grow and strengthen. Okay, so how we do different reps and sets, and there's so many different ways that we do that. And all of you sports medicine people know this, and people who are working with clients, that one of the tempo things that you can do to mix up a routine is the tempo thing. You can mix that up. We'll get into the 6 points of how you can boost your workouts, also found in the Habits of Health. But Okay, so at the expense of having to count for an 8-4-8 count, which is a little bit challenging. It's just like the breathing thing, where it's like you have to think and concentrate on something else that isn't exactly the movement itself, because you're concentrating on breathing in or breathing out, or in this case, you're practicing you're actually counting the seconds that you're going into contraction. You should be able to get kind of like a tempo in your head that you can do. And the idea isn't that it's 8-4-8 per se. It's that time under tension, which is going to maximize the stimulus while being in a much safer environment with lighter weight. Right now, many of us being at home without access to the gym, we don't have a lot of heavy resistance weights and plates and machines. So using a lighter weight at this tempo will be extremely challenging. And again, does it need to be 8-4-8? No, it might be 7-3-6 because you're getting tired, and it might be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, the point is, it should be slow and controlled, because that's going to minimize momentum and it's going to maximize time under tension. And that's why Dr. Andersen has the 8-4-8 in there. If you're coming from a new operating system, this is the first app you want to install, because it's going to prepare you for additional programming in the future. All right, so what does it look like overall? Here's what the workout is that we put into the challenge. Abdominal crunch, chest press, bent over row, seated chest press, tricep kickbacks for our arms, and then our second rotation is abdominal crunch, chest press, bent over row, seated press, standing bicep curls. How this would look is I literally would do abdominal crunch, which is not a full sit-up, and this is extremely hard with the 8-4-8 count. 1 set, 5 reps, 8-4-8, rest 20 seconds, move on to chest press. Chest press, 1 set, 5 reps. Okay, do it 5 times at 8-4-8, 20-second rest, move on to back, and so on, and then do your second rotation. Okay, here's the one for the lower body. And what I would suggest is that you go into the library from habitsofhealth.com and go into watch videos and choose any one of the exercises that you know how to do or want to do for that particular body part. So when I look at thighs, I will literally be able to go through those videos and say, here's a thigh exercise that I can do, and then you just replace it. There's not a whole lot of magic in the type of in the actual exercise itself, because they all do a specific thing. Is how you might use a certain piece of equipment, or how and where you might be able to perform that exercise. So your gluteal hot buns, your deadlift, your donkey calf raises, your step heel raise is another replacement of that. So you can either do donkey calf raises again, or you can add a different exercise. You could add a different exercise every time for that particular body part if you wanted to. If that makes sense. So point I want to make is that these aren't hard locked. These are just examples. So you need to have the ability to go in there and find the exercise that's right for you. If you're working around injury, if you're working around equipment challenges, then you should be able to find the exercise that is going to be more appropriate for what your needs and availability is. Okay. All right. So here's how it looks. Once again, the videos that are posted on the documents page, but it will walk you through this. So where do we find those videos? Here's where we find them. We go to our Habits of Health website, www.habitsofhealth.com, go into System Resources. You will see the Eat Log Sheets, okay, and that's where I actually got the form to write out the exercises. And then you could go into Watch the Videos, and this will take you to the YouTube page that has the entire unlisted. You can't just do a Google search in YouTube, you won't find them. But if you go through here, it will take you right through the unlisted, right to the unlisted videos that Dr. Andersen put together for examples of exercises that you can add. Okay, this is what it looks like. So the Habits of Health exercise videos, there's 70 of them. And here's what I was talking about for your back exercises. If you want to choose any one of these in place of that bent over row that we had illustrated, you can do any of these exercises. Watch the video. And then, of course, if you're at the level of an 8-4-8, you would perform the exercise in an 8-4-8 count. All right. And here are the 6 ways to boost your workout if you are advanced. And what I might say is, and you'll see this in the video, that my daughter, my college-age athletic daughter, who plays collegiate volleyball, was having a hard time going through the 8-4-8 count. just because it's number one, it's a change, which can be a great thing in switching up your program routine. But it is very challenging, especially until you get used to it because of the neurological adaptation that it requires. But at the end, it's going to make somebody much stronger in a very safe way. All right, so here's how you boost them. Number one, increase repetitions. You just simply go from 5 repetitions to 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 to 12 or 12 to 15. All right, that's a lot of time under tension. I think what you'll find is you won't need that until you go into your different tempo. Okay, increase resistance. Well, we know that that's one of the most common ways, is that we'd go from an 8-pounder to a 10-pounder to a 12-pounder to a 15-pounder, and that's going to keep adding the stimulus to the exercise so that you don't plateau. Okay, now remember, a plateau is your body getting used to something. So we will continue to become more efficient at your movements, which means we will have to increase weight over time. If your body adapts to the current movement and you're in maintenance and you decide that you're right where you want to be and you want to maintain it, then you're probably okay. But if you want to continue getting stronger, continue shaping the muscle, continue increasing the metabolism, all those great things that can happen, then you're going to want to continue to increase your resistance over time. Increase sets of the rotation. So this would be you go through it once, then you go through it twice, then now you go through it a third time and a fourth time. You can do as many rounds as possible, and whatever fits into maybe a time frame. Maybe you gave yourself 60 minutes of time that you had to work out. You could go through that rotation until that time is up. I'm going to tell you right now, that's a lot of volume. That's a lot of exercise. Probably not required by any means, but you'll have to use your best judgment on that. Decrease recovery time. That would be going from 20 seconds to maybe, oh, you know what? I got them all right here. 20 seconds to 10 seconds. There may be a case, like here's some of the things that if we want to get really complicated, really deep into this, if you increase the resistance, you might actually want to take a longer rest period. Okay, but if you keep the resistance the same, then you can decrease from 20 seconds to 10 seconds, and that's going to be a challenge all by itself. There's about a million zillion ways that you can mix this routine up and never get bored of it. But one thing that I do want to recommend, well, let me get into that next. Increase your speed. So go from your tempo of 8-4-8 to maybe a 4-2-4, or what most people are familiar with, a 2-1-2. That's 2 seconds up and then take it back down. That's what most of us are used to seeing. And then, of course, maintain muscular contraction on top. That's the flex, but don't lock out. Don't lock out those muscles and just let gravity be neutralized by the joint structure. Okay, that's efficient for if you're carrying a water bucket or something out in the desert, but it's not efficient for if you're trying to actually make that muscle tired in the shortest period of time so that you can stop and then move on with your day. Okay, so I just want to just be really clear that the best thing we can do is stick with the same upper and lower resistance training program for a certain period of time. That is periodization of a program, and where we have cycles. We'll have mini cycles, we'll have macro cycles, and how we train people would be taking where they currently are and then incrementally adding, just like Dr. Andersen does it, just like Habits of Health is. So we're guilty in a lot of health clubs and a lot of classes of always wanting to create an experience that's kind of catered towards a line of entertainment and hobby versus just true programming, because of the variety of people that are coming in, because of the number of days a week that people are coming in, and that whole, like all the complicated things that are involved in all that. We can't just literally put together programs unless we're working one-on-one with somebody, or your program is built around progressive exercise techniques. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So you may wonder, why do so many places I go in there, it's a different workout every time? They actually promote it's a different workout every time. There is something to be said about instinctual training and or muscle confusion or that kind of thing. But when we're talking about learning a program for the first time, creating the neurological adaptation, which is extremely important for your strength increases. And then we also see the internal cellular changes that can happen through the mitochondria, and how your body can become more efficient and hold more energy longer, recover faster, so that you can do it more frequently. And that all happens by having a controlled system. Okay, we want to do a little bit less of throwing the spaghetti against the wall, and a little bit more of knowing that, especially if you're starting with that brand new operating system and you're installing one app at a time, you don't have to install all the apps, especially the ones that you may never use, like now, you know, Angry Birds and all this other stuff that you might not be using anymore, but it's still bogging down your thought process. Okay? So that's the reasoning behind it. Go out there and make it happen, guys. Have a great day.